It's pre-release 3 time. Pre-release 3. If you're wondering what the heck is going on, well, a pre-release is very similar to a snapshot, except that the expectation is that there's going to be less features, more bug fixes, and prepping the Minecraft version that they are working on for release to the public. Last week we had pre-release 1 and 2 back to back, and this week we have pre-release 3. There are some small changes and of course a lot of bug fixes. This is the Java edition of Minecraft, and if you're wondering, what about Bedrock? What about my Nintendo Switch and my PS4s and my Xboxes? Well, we don't know for certain, but over the past few updates, I'd say the last 2 or 3 updates, the Bedrock version and the Java edition both updated around the same time. So I would guess that the chances are very good that you guys are also getting close to a major release. Does this mean that we know the exact date of the official 1.16 release where everybody can get it, not just snapshots? No. We don't know the actual release date yet, but it should be soon, maybe in the next few weeks, maybe a month, something like that. Also, before we jump in, huge thank you to my YouTube members. You guys are fantastic. Thank you so much for your direct support. Click the join button around this video to learn more. So campfires are nothing new. You can take some raw food and put it around the edge. But if a campfire was unlit in the past version, you couldn't place food around it. Now you can do that. I wonder if this will add some sort of cool display. Like maybe someone's gonna think of a cool way to display some food. Obviously this is not gonna cook, would be my assumption. You also got the blue flame, and now if you put that out, you can still put some food around that one, the soul fire, as well. Oh, and look, we cooked. It cooked! I have found a bug in this, search menu. You hit F to search for something. I was looking for the fire charge, but if your cursor happens to be over any block and you hit the F key, it will put it into your offhand, which if you weren't in that menu, you would obviously place that thing into your hand. So, if I'm searching for F, it just does that. Anyway, we may have to make a bug report here because that's not how that's supposed to work. So this next little change, I am so surprised that this has not been a thing for like longer. But so inside of the lava, right, you can't really see anything. Like I can kind of see the top of the lava source right here. If you drink a fire resistance potion in this newest pre-release, your view distance increases, which is awesome. It is that is incredible, because being able to actually be under the lava and get some type of work done to know, okay, well, where's the base here? Okay, so here's the bottom. Okay, we can go searching for some type of block that might be in the way of a flying machine, that sort of thing. We've covered a machine that moves the new mechanic of blue ice and the soul soil, so it can create its own bridge. But with that mechanic, with that machine, if you're under the lava, and it hits anything, anything at all, it just totally breaks it. You couldn't see under lava, no matter what. So now, if you have a fire resistance potion, you can actually get some type of view under the lava, which is awesome. Love that feature. So this next one is rather interesting, and it happens to do with the piglins and the chests. I'm not going to open this right now because I am in survival mode. And the idea is that even if they hear you open up a chest without being in line of sight, they will assume that you are opening up this chest and they will try to attack. So if I just try to cover up the line of sight from all these guys, I don't think anybody else can see me. And I'm opening this up, grabbing some stuff. Oh, he didn't even, oh wow, he did. Can you not hear this? Don't look at me. Don't look at me. This is private time over here. Oh, I think I heard one get mad. Did he get mad? Is he mad? Yeah, look at him, he's mad. He's so mad. Oh boy. So there you go. He doesn't actually have to even be able to see you. He just has to be able to hear what you're doing. That also works with gold blocks. So any of the gold ore that's in the walls or around, if they hear you do that as well, then they will attack. Let's see, can we? Oh, I'm sorry. No, okay, this is turning out bad. Before, if you were in this game rules area and any of the game rules took up multiple lines, like allow spectators to generate terrain, that would not create a new line. It just kind of kept going. So that is now fixed, that formatting error. If you wanted to recreate a world, you get a loading animation, I guess. Loading screen is now displayed while the game is reading world data for loading. So I think it was just that we were on that loading screen with the 0% done instead of it just being like blank, like, oh, the game has frozen. But there you go. Now onto a few bug fixes. This one happens to do with the lead. Before, this lead would basically generate at the top of the hitbox of whatever type of creature you had. So, whoop, no, come back here, B. So now, in the newest version, leads basically generate where you would expect them to whenever you have an animal instead of floating above that animal like it would in the previous versions. So we've already noticed this, but the off key button didn't work if you were in your inventory. So now that works, although I feel like it shouldn't. So the off key button is the same one. If you're on the hot bar and then you hit that, it'll switch with whatever is in your offhand. That's a nice feature. I feel like when you're on this screen, not so much, maybe even this screen, like, okay, I hit F and it goes over there versus, you know, you could always hit your number keys and it would do that too. I do that a lot. But I feel like when you're on the search one, that should not work that way. Okay, let's cover something that I was confused about. Lots of people were confused about when it came to last week's pre-release, and that was the fabulous graphics setting. So sort of like what it mentioned, and it actually expands upon what it did last time. So shaders for drawing weather, clouds, and particles behind translucent blocks and water. And so it's, I have seen how this works now. So right here, I have the graphics set to fancy, not fabulous. Fancy, not fabulous. And you can see that we have some soul sand and some magma cube blocks. And in this setting, you can see the particles at the top, but you can't see them through the water. But when we switch to fabulous, then you can. So you can see those particles through the water. Here are a few more examples. You can see the clouds in the background that get destroyed. I don't know. They get gone away whenever you look through a transparent block. Also, if I take this stained glass, this is a pane, and throw it on the ground, you can see that the I don't know, the seam right there between the two glass particles pieces back there, they go away. So now if we switch to fabulous, then you can still see the seam and you can see all of the clouds through that glass. So those are just a few examples of, and there's a lot more, like it mentioned, weather, and so basically transparent things can go through more transparent things on their way to your player's eyeballs. Another thing to mention is that Sliced Lime wrote up a really long post on Reddit discussing things to do with farms and basically farms. So first off is the Zombified Piglin Golden XP farm. In 1.15 and before, you would use a gigantic farm built on the top of the Nether, basically these huge donuts up in the sky, and then you would aggro a single pigman. He would try to attack you, and as he fell and died, or however you killed them, they would die and drop experience, and they would drop their items. And the idea, I guess, of that type of farm was if they were mad at you and they died, the player didn't actually have to kill them in order to get the experience to, you know, do whatever you wanted to, like mending or whatever. So Sliced Lime mentions that that is not intended. The developers feel like that type of farm, if obviously the player didn't physically attack the mob, which is true for any other type of mob. So if you have a skeleton farm and your skeletons fall and die, and you don't, as a player, actively attack them at least once, they don't drop experience. They only drop items, no experience. And so that was why pigman farms were so overpowered, was because you could get experience and items from those type of farms just because they happen to be mad at the player, whoever was attracting them. So they're saying that that is an unintended effect. It was discussed early on to turn that feature, that glitch basically off, but because we are so far along in the update process for 1.16, literally it says, and I'm gonna just read this word for word, obviously that didn't happen either, and as a result we're going to fix it by basically adding back the glitch. Obviously this is implicit and explicit that this is something they feel like shouldn't happen, but right now it is still in the game, but it might not be for long. Also, there was a discussion about the Nether Fortresses and how they sort of overspawn creatures and mobs, and that is something they want to address, but they are not addressing it in 1.16. And also, if you were making some type of farm to get, say, wither skeleton skulls in the fortress, you could use the entire bounding box of the fortress, which was a lot larger than just the fortress platform itself. So you could actually overbuild a fortress and get a larger spawning platform because it was using the bounding box of the fortress and not just the automatically generated platforms. And that is another feature that is still implemented as of 1.16. But if you want to future-proof your builds, you need to constrain it to the actual platform. And who knows when they're going to take that away, that sort of over area, and also the fact that things will spawn more frequently in Nether Fortresses. So I appreciate the fact that Slice Lime took time out of his day to write up this long post and inform the community, because I could have easily seen this been something that they just changed on the back end and it was like, oh, well, this is sad that we don't get these type of farms anymore, but I guess that is what it is. So them taking the time to actually update the community is something that is very nice. I really like the transparency, and I'm really, really glad that we have such nice developers to tell the community what's going on. And that about wraps it up for this pre-release number 3. Like I mentioned, there are so many bug fixes. Like, I'm just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling through these bug fixes. Lots of bug fixes. One of my favorites is at the very bottom. The last one says the K in 4K. It needs to be capitalized. There you go. 4K. The K has been capitalized, folks. We can rest easy. Really looking forward to the release of 1.16 when everybody gets to play it, even if you don't have snapshots enabled. This is going to be a big update. Very, very excited about it, and I cannot wait. Thanks so much for watching this episode of OMG Craft. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a big ol' thumbs up. Also, make sure you subscribe for future videos, tips, tricks, tutorials, and spotlights here on OMG Craft, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.